This program contains adult content.
Is there a God?
Big atheist.
Really?
What am I, an idiot? Come on.
That yes, it would be nice if you could throw your sins and your responsibilities on someone else. But it's not true.
It looks like far-left lunacy.
I don't believe that it's true that religion is moral or ethical.
You don't need to follow anybody!
It's not human intelligence!
If someone doesn't value logical consistency, what logical argument are you going to give them that will demonstrate that they should?
Hello and welcome to the Godless Rebelution. Today is Wednesday, June 22nd. This is episode 382. My name is Dan and I'm joined by a singular co-host this evening.
Oh yeah, it's me, Taylor. Ryan fucked up again.
Oh, it's probably off trimming his mustache or something.
Yeah, I don't know why he takes, like, what is even with that thing? That disgusting caterpillar that crawls on his lip.
It's like a Afghan dog just laying across his top lip. Yeah. Split in the middle. I don't know.
But Afghan dogs at least have their hair looking nice.
I kind of like Ryan's mustache.
Thank you, Dan. Oh, shit. I blew it.
So, Mr. Duffy is with me this evening. Taylor is unable to join us. He's doing things in Italy, trying to set up his residence and internet and all of that kind of shit. And it's just taking longer than he anticipated. And he's having troubles with mobile phone and just basically settling in and running into roadblocks.
Apparently with the Italian culture, when they're a little laid back, it's like, oh, we'll get your internet. Like, when do you want it? Like, oh, you meant this year? Well, shit, that we might actually have to like get off our asses and do that then, I guess.
Well, you know, you're not going to be able to read all of the news right now anyway. It's going to be building up. It will have a large portion of things for you to look at later. That was a really terrible Italian accent. That was...
I know. I thought about trying one and I'm like, nope, I'll just make it even worse. We'll seem like very anti-Italian and that's been a bad part of our culture.
That was like slipping in some Swedish with Italian for some reason. I don't know. I'm tired. It's been a long fucking week already, and it's only Wednesday. Yeah. So we know Taylor's not here. Hopefully he'll be able to join us next week. And he may have been able to join us for this week's recording had I not completely blown it off because I'm way too busy and shit has fallen through the cracks. We were supposed to record on Monday, but I
sat here for like 10 minutes going, did we change our Google Hangout call in or what?
Well, no, it's just, I'm sure regular listeners of the show know that we change our recording days according to Ryan's schedule because his schedule shifts and stuff. So we had been recording on Wednesdays. We're going to shift to Monday, and I completely fucking forgot because it was the Juneteenth holiday observance on Monday, and we had my grandchild over here visiting, watching her for the day, and it wasn't even a thought in my head at all. Like I had my phone sitting, I think, up in my office, and I was just playing with my grandbaby all day, and it was a lot of fun. And then
that's kind of what I figured. That's why I was like, I bet I saw the video earlier. I'm like, I bet Dan's he forgot. And because it happens all the time when we have to change.
Yeah, like Danica shows up, my daughter shows up, picks up Lily, shows up to pick up Lily, her daughter, and we chit chat for a little bit, say our goodbyes, and she leaves. I go up into my office, pick up my phone. I was like, oh shit, I totally fucked this. Yeah. So I felt bad. Sorry, Taylor.
Oh, you're good.
Who's not here. Sorry, Ryan, who is here. Sorry, listeners. I think
Taylor forgot too, because Taylor's first response is, we're recording today?
Oh, was it? Like I just saw a bunch of texts and I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then I started reading through them, just kind of scanning through, and then you get to the bottom, it was like, oh fuck me, damn it, I totally forgot.
Yeah, Taylor forgot too.
Oh, okay. Well, then I don't feel quite so bad.
And luckily I took this week off of work because I needed to take some time off.
Well, good.
I had today off, so
good.
I'm not at work.
Good for you. Good on you. My boss took last week off, and she's one of the best bosses around. And when she's not around, shit just starts falling apart. She's one of the she's the hub around which all of the spokes are arranged. And when she's not here, they all just start splintering and going off in their own direction. I don't know. It's like people lose their goddamn minds when there's not somebody who just checks in on them periodically like, hey, what you doing? Last time we talked, this was going on. You were going to do this. What else is new? Because this week
has not been good.
No, no. Some of the meetings that we're having, it's just like, did everybody lose their fucking minds in a week? Like the world went to shit. It's like the apocalypse happened while she was gone, and nobody. It's like these people, we get in a meeting and it's like they've never been in a meeting like we're having when it's a weekly occurrence. They miss 1 week and it's like, oh shit, I didn't know what we're supposed to do in here. It's really frustrating. But so you took the week off because you needed some time off. What have you been doing in your time off?
Making bowls.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
420 bowls?
No, on the lathe. I made 4 large cherry like trays, and I had the idea. I'm like, these are big enough. They're 12 inches. I bought some slabs of cherry wood because I can buy a slab of cherry wood for about $120, and I got 6 blanks out of it. 6 12 by 12 blanks out of that one slab.
Oh, nice.
Now, if I were just to buy a bowl blank of cherry wood, that would cost me like $60. So I made my own blanks to turn on the lathe.
So you say 12 by 12, how that's 2 dimensions in a 3-dimensional space. How thick?
Well, 12 inches by 12 inches by about 4 inches deep.
Oh, okay. Oh, I gotcha.
So,
and you just been making bowls.
It's 4 board feet.
4 board feet. What is it? What is a board foot?
A board foot is 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 inch.
Okay.
It's a board foot.
Okay. I did not know this.
So, that's the place I go to buy my lumber from. That's how they sell us by the board foot. So if you want to know how much a piece of wood's going to cost you, you better measure it and do the math before you go to the checkout and like, oh, fuck, that was expensive.
Uh-huh.
Like I've done before.
Get hit with an expensive price tag and you're like, oh.
I thought that was that. In my head, that looked like maybe $300 worth of wood.
Actually, can I
$1,000?
Can I put some of this back on the shelf? Maybe come back and get it another time.
No, I just leave and go. That was more than I planned on spending. better make some shit quick.
Yeah. So you're making a lot of bowls. I saw one that was like a wolf, and then one with like a tree design in it.
Yeah, I did one with the tree. So I did one with the wolf in it. I did one with like a Viking bear. I did one with the Celtic tree knot. And I did one with a mandala type design, which I don't know if you know what those are. They're kind of like, it's a repeating patterns that are really intricate.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't they do like some, isn't it? It's very symmetrical also, right? Like it's.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Very symmetrical, very intricate designs. And I did one of those on inside of one of them as well.
Oh, nice.
They turned out pretty good. I'm just trying to build like an inventory of stuff. So hopefully I can hit one of these like winter markets. I might also just put some of this stuff up for sale on my website, because I did start building a page where I can actually advertise some of these pieces for sale. Ooh. And I just got to be better at like marketing myself, I guess, which I'm fucking horrible at.
Oh, you fancy, huh? Yeah, I think it might just be part of being a Gen Xer, but like most people that are in my age group we're all terrible at marketing ourselves. Like we don't like to talk about ourselves a whole lot. I don't know.
See, I think I've got that Gen X crossover because I'm actually a millennial, but I'm like the oldest millennial you can be.
Yeah. You're on the cusp.
I'm on the cusp because I'm that generation that we didn't have the internet growing up, but we got it right there at the end. Like I had internet in high school.
Lucky.
I didn't grow up with the internet.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't either. We barely had computers in high school. Like I learned to type on like it was an electric typewriter that was fancy. Like you could enter a whole line of text. And then if you hit enter, it would type out this whole line of text so that you could go and like, it would give you like a little
spell check your shit.
one line pixelated view of what you had typed in. So you could backspace and you could correct and then hit enter and it would just type all of that out. And of course they didn't like us to do that. The whole point was to learn how to type without like fixing a bunch of stuff, but
well, that's how we do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and computers came around. I think we had like some of the original Macintosh computers when they were first out when I was in high school. Yeah, we didn't have much of anything. And then the internet didn't come around until a few years later.
Or commercially, because the internet was around in the 80s, just not commercially like it is now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What else is new?
I've just had I'm proud of my very productive day I had today.
Oh, that's right. We talked about that before and we were going to talk about it. So what was your very productive day today?
So I woke up. So I had those 4 blanks I had turned yesterday and I had to seal them. So I got all 4 of those sealed with finishing the outsides of them. I finished laying down paver stones on the side of the house and weed barrier for part of our xeriscaping. Then I cleaned out all of the window wells of all the icky black widow spiders Sarah hates and the stuff that's blown into them over the last year because the fucking chickens love to fucking hide in them now from the dogs for some fucking reason. So we're going to get some covers for them. I had to clean them all out first. Got all those cleaned out.
Do you have chickens?
I did all of this. No, all of our neighbors have chickens and they've been getting into our yard. And the dogs have been chasing them into the window wells. So every once in a while, Sarah will go out in the backyard and Oz and Lulu will be looking down into the window well at a chicken scared shitless. That's minus the chicken that got into the house.
You got chickens in your house now?
I was sitting here downstairs. Sarah was up in her office and all of a sudden I hear a loud commotion of Oz and Lulu running through the house. I'm like, what the fuck is going on up there? So I opened my door to go out to see what's happening and a fucking chicken flies down the stairs and lands on my bar. I was like, oh, what do I do?
What the hell is going on in here?
Yeah. And Lulu was in tow right behind the fucking chicken down the stairs. And I'm like, I better take care of this quick or we're going to have a chicken dinner tonight and the neighbor's going to be asking where we got that.
That's kind of funny. Like, have you mentioned to your neighbors that maybe they should keep better track of their chickens?
So the one guy, he's really good. Usually he's got a really good coop set up and the kids they always feed him. They take care of them really well, but one got out. And Sarah only knew it was their chicken because she set it down and watched which direction it flew. The other one are our shitty neighbors who don't have a coop and their chickens fucking roam the neighborhood.
That would be...
And they don't care.
That would be a problem for me.
I mean, I've been in the garage where a chicken just comes in there, jumps on my fucking workbench. I'm like, hello? I'm working here.
Yeah, I would not be happy about that.
But I was happy I got all that shit done today before 10 a.m.
Wow.
I know.
That's awesome. What time did you start?
Me enough time I got up at like 7.
Yeah.
Went out in the garage started around 8. So it didn't take me long to do all that shit. I'm quick. Wow. Multitasking while one bull's doing a thing and the stuff's got to dry for like 10 minutes. I went and laid some paver stones, kept going back and forth between the garage and laying pavers and putting finish and cleaning it off and buffing it, put a new one on. Yeah.
Nice.
And then I took a nap.
I could go for a nap myself. I am very tired. It's just been a really long, last week was really long. This week is really long. I don't know. I feel like I'm not getting anything done. Like I'm working my ass off and nothing is getting done. Like I'm not feeling very productive because I'm just rushing from one thing to the next. And I don't feel like
sinking and you're bailing it out with the sieve.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, like I'm just kind of treading water. I feel like nothing, I'm not being able to do anything to the best of my ability because I just don't have the fucking bandwidth to do it, you know? Which is just frustrating and tiring, wearing, taxing. I'm just beat. I could really go for a nap, but it's not going to happen today because I have too much stuff to do. Go ahead.
So don't worry. I think I'm at the driver's wheel for this episode.
Yeah.
So you can.
What are we going to be talking about tonight, Ryan?
Well, like I said last episode, we're going to get some stuff about guns together.
Oh.
And the way my brain works, this is going to be a multi-part episode laid out in different steps.
Okay.
So we're going to start our conversation on guns in America.
Oh, well, that should be, fun.
Hopefully informative.
Yeah. You've put in a lot of work. There's a lot of text here. Thank you very much.
Before I knew it, I had 7 pages written for this episode. I was like, oh shit, this might be a little long, but we're going to get through it.
We can always break it out into more than one episode. All right, cool. Well, we will start talking about that when we get back from this little break.
This is Steve Kuno, author of the new book, Behind the Mormon Curtain, Selling Sex in America's Holy City. It's the result of 3 years of interviews with sexual service providers in the Salt Lake City area. And yes, the vast majority of their clients are practicing Mormons. It's available through bookstores, on Amazon, or go to my website, stevekuno.com. Kuno is spelled C-U-N-O. Don't satisfy yourself with buying just one copy. Oh, and by the way, you are listening to the Godless Rebelution.
Dear Lord Jesus Christ, thank you for this bounty and for this food. We pray that you continue to show us the guiding light through love and compassion. Blessings on the coffee, blessings on this delicious, sweet potato soup that is almost too spicy for me, but not in a hot way. And it's almost Middle Eastern Moroccan. We honor and pray for you. And well, we don't pray for you. We pray to you. And God impressed down upon us from your lips to us. Amen.
Amen.
Amen to that. That was a great grace.
Thank you to everybody who has rated the show on iTunes and Stitcher and are following us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And to all our Patreon patrons, you make the show possible.
Welcome back, everybody. So, as we mentioned before we went to the break, Ryan has done a lot of work on this, typed up all kinds of information for us. What do you got for us, Ryan? Show me what you got.
Well, first, I want to start this whole thing with a little bit of a disclaimer. I am a gun owner, and I do own some of the firearms we will be talking about throughout this whole series.
Oh, no.
I know. But I grew up going shooting at the shooting range with my father, and I took part in trap shooting leagues when I was a kid, and I probably have more firearm training than the average 12-year-old did when I was 12. I would argue that I probably had more training at 12 than one of these boogaloo weekend warriors do in their 30s.
Uh-huh.
Not saying I am proficient with firearms and had a lot of training at a young age, but that's kind of what I'm saying.
Well, and I think all three of us own guns, have been around guns, grew up with guns, went hunting, did all that kind of stuff. I mean, you lived in Wisconsin and did all of that kind of stuff. Taylor and I here in Utah, fairly rural kind of stuff. Yeah, it's a family tradition and heritage. And yeah, I too own guns and have hunted and done all that kind of stuff. I didn't do trap shooting when I was younger. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was in a league and everything, and we had actual people, instructors training us. Like, I think it was literally 3 weeks of instructing before we even touched a firearm.
Oh wow! What was your favorite gun for trap shooting?
Well, I just used my dad's 12 gauge.
Yeah.
No, I didn't really have a choice. We weren't rich. It was the same. I used the same gun to go trap shooting as I did for deer hunting.
You hunted with a shotgun?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, for deer hunting?
For deer, yeah. Oh. Everyone out here in the West is like, you hunted with a shotgun? I was like, yeah, that's how we did it in Wisconsin.
You know how we do.
Like we got to get close.
It's cold and we eat a lot of cheese and we hunt things with shotguns. All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack you there.
No, you're good. But getting the fact that we are gun owners and we do have that experience, I still want to come at this to be as factual and as reasonable with the subject of gun control in America as possible. I didn't want to make anybody disillusioned that we don't have guns or that we've never been around them. We have some things we don't like about them.
Well, and I think it's a good disclaimer to throw out there. If for no other reason than a lot of the pushback that I get, that I end up seeing whenever I have a discussion with some random person online is, you don't even know anything about guns. You just want to restrict them and you don't fucking know anything about it. And it's like, nah, I know quite a bit.
Not really.
Yeah.
We just don't, masturbate about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have wet dreams about, the type of guns that I have. I don't have to display them and take pictures with them and sleep with them. Yeah. They're tools. They're not my lovers.
Yeah. But, so we can start this whole conversation with the obvious. We have a gun problem in America.
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. But the solution will also not be easy or quick. Guns have been part of society ever since the Pilgrims landed and had the first mass shooting.
The Pilgrims had a mass shooting?
I mean, all the Native Americans.
Oh, yeah, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, that was dark. That joke didn't land. That was a horrible joke. I apologize. But even when you look at all the old artwork portraying the pilgrims and early settlers, it's nearly impossible to find one without guns in the image. And I'm even talking the ones where it showed them in church.
Oh, really?
There would be a gun somewhere in that image. Whether it was one or everyone's holding a gun, there is guns. Look it up yourself. Look up old artwork of pilgrims and settlers, and there's guns in almost every fucking image. But in Old West films, guns were glamorized, the key part of American culture, even though reality shows that most of these Old West towns did not allow guns.
Oh, yeah. Well, and we talked about this a little bit before we started recording that in a lot of old Westerns, the sheriff of the town would demand that anybody who rode into town had to give up their guns while they were in town because it was a way to keep the violence down because people were stupid. So, yeah, if you're going to be staying in our town for any amount of time, you need to hand over your guns. You can have them when you leave. Yeah, but when anybody thinks of any imagery of the Old West, it's always the guy with the 6-shooter on his hip. Yeah. If you're going to be a cowboy, you have a gun. And even when you go to a toy store, you will find aisles of toy guns. Whether it's Nerf guns or I don't really find squirt guns, but even airsoft. We advertise guns to kids the same way they used to advertise tobacco, I guess, which they said that's not healthy. That's perfectly healthy to advertise firearms to young children. Well, it seems like the culture around toys and guns for kids has changed quite a bit from when I was a kid. It has. Yeah, when I was younger, there were all kinds of guns that would fire projectiles at people, or they could fire them at people, which is what would happen because you give a toy that shoots something to a kid, he's going to do it at a person or a thing, right? Yeah, and I mean they were pretty realistic looking. There were cap guns and BB guns and pellet guns and all kinds of guns that either made a bang or a pop or had a projectile. And these days, if it is something that fires a projectile, it's usually a brightly colored something made of plastic that shoots a foam something or other that isn't going to injure anybody or put out any eyes necessarily.
I mean, that one doesn't, but the aspirations to have the bigger version of it does.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But for the most part about this show, I wanted to kind of go over how there has always been a call for gun control in America.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to start with the Old West.
Okay.
So Pioneer publications show Old West leaders repeatedly arguing in favor of gun control. City leaders in old cattle towns knew from experience what some Americans today don't want to believe. A town which allows easy access to guns invites trouble.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I mean, it like I mentioned earlier, a gun is a tool, and when it's the only tool you have in your pocket, it becomes the solution to all kinds of problems. Somebody's mean to you, well, you got a gun. Somebody cut you off in line, well, you got a gun. I mean, it turns into the hammer in search of a nail
solution.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying the Old West times a gun wasn't needed, but definitely in towns and developed areas, they definitely weren't.
Mm-hmm.
So what these cow town leaders saw immediately in their day-to-day associations with guns is that more guns in more places cause not greater safety, but greater death in an already dangerous wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
By the 1880s, many in the West were fed up with gun violence. Gun control, they contended, was absolutely essential. And the remedy advocated usually was no less than a total ban on pistol packing.
And you've got that in quotes. What is pistol packing? Is that just?
That's what they called it then. Pistol packing is their term, like to carry a firearm.
Pistol packing,
like you're packing a pistol packing.
Yeah.
It's just their way of saying you shouldn't be allowed to carry a gun.
Okay.
Now, I'm not 100% sure if at that time that included like rifles and shotguns, because as we'll read more through this, it seemed like they were more for the banning of pistols 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't really say much about rifles and shotguns.
Okay.
So, but when you're like, you pistol packing, are you packing? No.
All right. Yeah.
You got a gun?
Yeah. Packing
but
some heat.
The way all the old writings said pistol packing. So that's why it's in quotes.
Okay.
But the editors of the Black Hill Daily Times of the Dakota Territory in 1884 called the idea of carrying firearms into the city, quote, a dangerous practice. Not only to others, to the packer himself. He emphasized his point with this headline, perforated by his own pistol.
Perforated by his own pistol.
Yes. They were a lot better with words then. I mean, it goes to say what like we know even nowadays. If you own a firearm, you're more likely to be killed by a firearm than if you don't own a firearm.
Oh, yeah. Your chances of being harmed by a firearm increase exponentially.
Yes. So the editor of the Montana's Yellowstone Journal acknowledged 4 years earlier that Americans have the right to bear arms, but he contended that guns have to be regulated. As for cowboys carrying pistols, a dispatch from Laramie Northwest Stock Journal in 1984 reported, we see many cowboys fitting up for the spring and summer work. They all seem to think it's absolutely necessary to have a revolver. Of all foolish notions, this is the most absurd.
Oh, wow. In 1884.
Them saying the need to carry a firearm is fucking absurd.
You're a cowboy. You work with cows. You herd and rustle cattle.
Cows.
What do you need a gun for?
Gun.
Yeah. Or especially a pistol. Why do you need a pistol?
Because that's where we harken back to the idea of all the fucking cowboys with a fucking pistol on their hip.
Yeah. Doing their quick draw.
Yep. Now we have cowboy president Theodore Roosevelt. He recalled with approval that as a Dakota Territory ranch owner, his town, at the least, allowed no shooting in the streets.
All the good old days.
At least they can shoot in the buildings. No. The editor of that town's newspaper, the Bad Lads Cowboy of Medora. That's too long of a name for a fucking paper.
That's the newspaper, the Badlands Cowboy of Medora?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they demanded that gun control be even tighter than that. Like leader in Miles City and many other cow towns, he wanted to see guns banned entirely within city limits. A.T. Packard in August of 1885 called packing a gun a senseless custom and noted about a month later that as protection, it's terribly useless.
Probably because everybody else has guns also.
I don't know, but these people were smarter than our politicians nowadays.
Yeah. Or at least less afraid of the monstrous base they've created.
Yes. But Old West cattlemen themselves saw the need for gun control. By 1882, a Texas Cattle Raising Association had banned 6-shooters from the cowboys' belts. In almost every section of the West, murders are on the increase, and cowmen are too often the principal in the encounter, concurred a dispatch from the Texas Livestock Journal dated June 5th, 1884. The 6-shooter, loaded with deadly cartridges, is a dangerous companion for any man, especially if he should unfortunately be primed with whiskey. Cattlemen should unite in aiding the enforcement of the law against carrying deadly weapons.
It seems like that would make sense. Like if you're carrying a gun and are drunk and stupid, you're going to do something that a drunk and stupid person would do with the gun you're carrying.
Yeah. I would agree with that. But I also think that if you mention any of this in modern society, they would all call it fake news.
Fake news.
Yeah. After all, this is not how we see things in a Clint Eastwood film.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is one of the bigger hurdles we need to get over. The culture of guns in America is a fixture in our films and media that we consume on a fictionalized version of our past. I even have old footage of myself dressed up at Halloween, going to my grandparents' house as a cowboy with a 6-shooter in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've had more than one Halloween costume as a kid. Yeah, dressed up in
with a gun,
chaps and a hat and a gun. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what we imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And even like the gun shows, they use Old West slogans and imagery to get people in the door, while society in the 1800s was pushing for stricter gun control than we are getting now.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have to talk about the more racist side of gun control. Because would you imagine in the 1800s them being racist about gun control?
Uh-huh. Well, yeah. This gets into one of the quotes that Taylor uses, and I'm going to have to paraphrase here. But it's basically that there are laws created to restrict the out-group and that are used to protect the in-group and restrict the out-group, and then other laws that are made to bind the out-group and protect the in-group, like the vice versa. Yeah, there's always been, we don't want those people to have the same rights as we do.
Yeah. So even after the 13th Amendment that freed the slaves, they were not allowed to own guns. In 1887, the Virginia University Law Review called for a prohibitive tax to prevent... one second. My leg just cramped up. That fucking hurts.
What are you... What are you doing that your leg would cramp up in the middle of a sentence you're speaking?
I'm sitting.
Oh, welcome to middle age, my friend.
We just talked about getting old. I was like,
I'm going to sit at my desk and then all of a sudden squeal in pain because I've got a fucking leg cramp from nowhere.
I started feeling, right as soon as I started reading that sentence, I started feeling it like, I'm like, oh, my leg feels like it's cramping up. And I went to stretch it out and it just fucking kicked right in.
I'm sorry.
Don't worry. I don't know why that did that.
That sucks.
Okay. Okay.
So you okay? You okay now? You gonna be all right?
Yeah, I'll be all right. It's not doing its thing anymore.
Oh, good.
I'm just gonna start off with the in 1887, or should I just? Is this going to stay in the show?
Yeah, I'll just probably leave this in there.
Okay. Well, I mean, it makes it easier for editing. Yes, I got a cramp.
Yeah.
So anyways, in 1887, the Virginia University Law Review called for a prohibitive tax to prevent African Americans from owning firearms, saying, and this is what they're saying, the son of Ham, whose cowardly practice of toting guns has been one of the most fruitful sources of crime. Let a Negro board a railroad train with a quart of mean whiskey and a pistol in his grip, and the chances are that there will be a murder or at least a row before he alights.
I want to do that with a old timey. The son of Ham, whose cowardly practice of toting guns has been one of the most fruitful sources of crime, let a Negro board a railroad train with a quart of mean whiskey and a pistol in his grip, and the chances are that there will be a murder or at least a row before he alights.
I mean, that sounds better.
That was just such a great sentence for that. I was like, oh, that's perfect. Old-timey language. I was trying to
figure out what they mean by before he alights.
Before he leaves.
I was wondering if that was... Oh, was that leave or was lighting up his first cigarette? I'm like, is he honestly going to, they're saying he's going to get on the train, kill a bunch of people before he even lights a cigarette?
That's satisfactory post-coital cigarette. No, yeah, it's before he, by a light, they mean leave. Yeah.
Okay. So I learned something new here. Just what the term came from, because you ever heard of a Saturday Night Special?
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's a cheap gun, right?
A cheap gun. Well, it's not what it was before.
Oh.
So in 1882, Arkansas is the third state to pass a Saturday Night Special economic handgun ban. Arkansas followed Tennessee's lead by enacting a virtual identical Saturday Night Special law, banning the sales of any pistol other than expensive Army or Navy model revolvers, which most whites had or they could afford, thereby disarming black men.
Yeah, it's one of those laws that's meant to protect the in-group and restrict the out-group and vice versa. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In 1893, Alabama's first all-gun economic ban, Alabama placed extremely heavy business and or transactional taxes on the sales of handguns in an attempt, I had a burp, to put handguns out of the reach of blacks and poor whites.
Oh, those poor whites.
Yeah. In 1902, South Carolina's first total civilian handgun ban that banned all pistol sales except to sheriffs, their special deputies, which included the KKK and the company strongman.
Mm.
That's not a good mix at that time.
No.
1906, Mississippi race-based confiscation through records keeping. Mississippi enacted the first registration law for retailers in 1906, requiring them to maintain records of all pistol and pistol ammunition sales to make such records available for inspection on demand.
Oh, and yeah, try getting that shit passed in today's law. Like, you want to keep a database of who owns guns? Fuck that. I ain't gonna do it.
Well, that wasn't just a database on guns. It was also on the ammunition sales.
Mm.
So you know how much ammo people were packing.
A lot.
Yeah. In 1911, New York police chose who owned guns lawfully. The Sullivan Law, enacted, requires police permission via a permit issued at their discretion to own a handgun. And, of course, unpopular minorities were and are routinely denied permits.
Mm.
Sullivan Law is still in place.
Oh, really? Wow.
Among the high society people in New York can get a handgun. Good luck if you're not one of them.
So for 110 years, a little over 110 years, that's been in place, and it still serves to restrict handguns from the purchase and use of minorities.
Yes.
Wow.
1941. Florida judge admits gun law passed to disarm black laborers. In concurring opinions narrowly construing a Florida gun law passed in 1893, Justice Buford stated that the 1893 law was passed when there was great influx of Negro laborers in the state, or in this state. The same condition existed when the act was amended in 1901, and the act was passed for the purpose of disarming Negro laborers. The status was never intended to be applied to the white population, and in practice, never has been so applied.
Wow.
So, right off the bat, we can prove that America has had strict gun laws in the past.
Mm-hmm.
They just depended on what part of society you belong to.
Mm-hmm.
If America was pro-gun control in the past, what has changed today? And in my opinion, the biggest culprit is the NRA.
Hi, this is Andrew Seidel of the Freedom from Religion Foundation and author of The Founding Myth, and you are listening to the Godless Rebelution.
Oh, shoot. Guys, I'm sorry. I should have done this earlier. I would like to say a quick little grace and welcome our new guests to the table here. Dear Lord, I just want to thank you for providing this bounty for us and continue to watch over us and our new friends.
Rook, you don't have to do that now. We're okay.
You sure?
They understand.
Wait, so... Might not be for everybody.
You know. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Sorry to offend if I offended you.
No, you're religious. That's so cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool, actually.
How do you rationalize, scientific concepts such as, string theory, Big Bang, evolution with something like Christianity?
Actually, there's this book by Dr. Peter Tinkleton. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's posing this incredible theory that when the Lord talks about days, they're actually referring to decades.
Who cares? No one gives a shit about any of that stuff. I'd like to propose a toast.
Yeah.
Cheers to our new neighbors.
Cheers. Cheers to you.
If you have questions, comments, concerns, compliments, corrections, criticisms, or concepts for content, contact the show via email at godlessrebelution@gmail.com, by text or voicemail at 330-81-REBEL, or Twitter the twatter at TGR Podcast. Thank you!
Welcome back, everybody. Before the break, Ryan told us that the NRA is probably... that it's that he can point his finger at the NRA as probably the biggest culprit in how America's gun laws got so far out of whack.
Yeah. But I want to do justice to everything. So we're going to go through a not short history of the NRA.
Okay.
And we might not get to the bad part of it in this episode, so you'll have to return next week.
Okay.
But the NRA did not start off as the group we know today. They got their start in 1871 after the Civil War with Union Army veterans. Colonel William C. Church and General George Wingate. They were worried about the poor marksmanship among their troops, so they founded the National Rifle Association to teach rifle skills. Then fellow Civil War veteran General Ambrose Burnside, who was also a former governor of Rhode Island and U.S. Senator, became the organization's first president. And they were chartered in New York all the way up until last year.
I didn't know that they were originally started to teach rifle skills. I knew that initially they started out as like gun safety and shit, but I didn't know it was specifically to teach rifle skills. That's kind of interesting.
Specifically that they noticed that during the Civil War, people couldn't shoot for shit. And they're like, well, we need to change this.
We're all a bunch of fucking stormtroopers, man.
We got to hit a target. So the National Revolver Association, which is part of the NRA, first proposed requiring a permit to carry a concealed weapon in the 1920s.
Oh, they proposed it.
They proposed it.
Wow.
In other aspects of the NRA's legislation was adding a 5-year prison time to if a gun was used in a crime.
So like on top of, so you're saying like on top of whatever crime you committed and whatever sentence you got, if you used a gun in that, we're going to add 5 years.
Add 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
They also wanted to prohibit the sale of gun to non-citizens, which is still a thing. They wanted to impose a 1-day waiting period before a purchaser could take possession of a gun, and an open records of gun sales to police. 9 states quickly adopted this legislation.
This was over 100 years ago. More than 100 years ago, the NRA was all about gun safety regulations.
They were drafting this.
Wow. They're creating this, not
yes,
progressive politicians or liberal lefties. This was the NRA creating drafted legislation to help with gun safety.
Yes.
Wow.
The NRA also helped President Franklin Roosevelt draft the National Firearms Act, a response to the Prohibition era violence of machine guns, sawed-off shotguns, and other weapons were taxed or required to have a registration. I have never believed in the general practice of carrying weapons, NRA President Carl T. Frederick told Congress.
Wow.
I do not believe in the general premises of toting guns. I think it should be sharply restricted and only under license. But he refused to go along with restricting pistol sales.
So he's all about saying that he thought that the general practice of carrying weapons around was stupid.
Yes. And it should be sharply restricted and only under license.
So you should only be able to have those guns if they're sharply restricted, and you need a license to carry it.
Yes.
But he didn't want to restrict the sale of pistols. Okay.
Yes.
So sounds like we're starting to see a little bit of a change in how they wanted to regulate or restrict firearms.
Asking for restrictions, and basically they had banned machine guns, sawed-off shotguns, and like explosive weapons. Nowadays, you have to have what's called a Class 3 stamp to own one of those weapons, and they can't be made before 1986, I think is what it is. And you have to go through like an FBI federal database to get one of those, and they're fucking expensive.
Oh, yeah.
So the NRA again supported the Federal Arms Act in 1938. The legislation was written into law and required manufacturers, importers, and gun dealers to get a federal license, prohibit felons from buying guns, and demanded gun sellers keep records. I mean, that would be way too progressive today. The NRA came out in strong support of California's Mumford Act, which banned the open carry of firearms. The law, this is bad, was passed after the Black Panthers began patrolling to guard against police brutality.
Of course.
And 24 Black Panthers carrying weapons entered the state capitol in May of that year as lawmakers considered the legislation before being disarmed by state police. So we have yet to get rid of the racist shit.
Well, it's only been 100 years, right? I mean,
I know.
You got to give that stuff some time. All the libertarians would say that, we just need a free market solution to racism.
Free market to rate? That sounds horrible. But when most people look at California, look at their strict gun control laws, it came from the Mumford Act, because they didn't want to let the Black Panthers have guns.
Or the Mulford Act, yeah.
In 1986, Congress imposed new restrictions on gun sales with the Gun Control Act following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy.
68.
His brother, what was that? You
said 1986, but it was 1968.
1968. I am dyslexic sometimes.
That's fine.
This following the assassination of John F. Kennedy, his brother Robert Kennedy, and the civil rights activist Martin Luther King Jr. New law limited mail-order gun purchases, required all weapons to carry a serial number, and restricted felons, those who had abused drugs, and those who were mentally ill from buying weapons. Provisions it did not include a national gun registry or licensing for all guns. The NRA had opposed them, raising President Lyndon B. Johnson's ire, who called it a powerful lobby, a gun lobby.
And so here they really start to turn a little bit more toward...
A little bit. We're starting. This is kind of like the shift is coming. The shift is definitely coming. And in 1971, agents from the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, or the ATF, killed a member of the NRA who was hiding a cache of illegal weapons. In response, the NRA created a lobbying arm called the Institute for Legislative Action. A Texas lawyer named Harlan Carter, who had led the Border Patrol in the 1950s, was chosen to head it. This is the point in history where the NRA really became a lobbying group.
Okay, yeah, because because in 1968, Kennedy is assassinated. His brother is assassinated. Well, and I figured I'd better make a correction there when you said 86 instead of 68, because then the QAnon folks are going to be like, see there, he's still alive. He's been influencing things this long.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, so yes, they're making that change right now, but it didn't get bad until there's basically an overthrow. So a hardliner named Harlan Carter ran up against the old members of the NRA who tried to curtail his power by cutting his staff. The old members that were all for gun control.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. He organized a takeover at the NRA's annual convention in 1977 and became the group's executive vice president. And hardliner Neil Cocknock took over the Institute of Legislative Action. Suddenly, the NRA group was all types of gun control.
Neil Knox, that's
opposed to all types of gun control.
Neil Knox, that's a fun one. Yeah. Took over the Institute for Legislative Action. Yeah, their lobbying arm. Oh, okay.
And they opposed, and basically they were totally against gun control at this point. Any kind of gun control? Nope, done. He's actually quoted as saying, "You don't stop crime by attacking guns. You stop crime by stopping criminals." Great one-liner.
Yeah, this is. It sounds very similar to the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
The guy with the gun, which is bullshit.
And, you could have, I don't know, more than a dozen good guys with guns standing outside a, let's say, classroom full of children where somebody is actively shooting those children in that classroom, and all of those good guys with guns will stand there with their thumbs in their asses going, I don't want to go in there. That's dangerous. He's already shot us. I got a scratch on my arm. Did you see this big scratch on my arm?
Oh, and if you are a cop and your, let's say, what do we call it? Your wife is a teacher and she's in the classroom, and you want to go in there and save your wife and the children, they will take your gun.
Yeah, the other good guys there will stop you from going in.
Going in and doing what the good guy's supposed to do. But the NRA... We're almost through this episode.
Okay.
The NRA made its first endorsement for president in 1980. They wound up back a winner. I wouldn't call him a winner. He won the election, but he's not a winner. Ronald Reagan.
Oh, Ronnie. What a guy. What a character.
As governor of California, Reagan is the one who signed the Mulford Act into law. And he was a lifelong member of the NRA. But he did support gun control measures, particularly after the attempt on his life that wounded his press secretary, Jim Brady.
Which is a name that is probably familiar to a lot of our listeners, particularly the last name in connection with the Brady Bill.
Ooh, I was trying to leave it as a cliffhanger for next week. You're all going to be like, who's Jim Brady?
I've never heard of this guy. That's weird. Yeah.
But anyways, next week we're gonna finish up the NRA section where they get fucking bad. We're gonna go through how bad they got, how much money they're giving to political donations, even though they're not allowed to donate themselves. And do you want to talk about what other countries have done?
Sure.
The solution other countries have come up with to stop fucking gun violence?
It only makes sense, logically speaking, to be able to look around and go, what the fuck are other countries doing to help?
Yeah.
Why is there not this amount of gun violence in other countries? How can we emulate what they are doing and try to come up with a solution for the gun violence that is going on here in America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also need to dismiss some untrue things about countries like, let's say, Australia, because you can own a gun in Australia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even though people say they can't.
Yeah, well,
they're stupid.
Yeah, there's a bunch of really terrible arguments offered by people on the right just because they're on the, like, they're horribly uninformed and misinformed, and then go around shooting off their mouth like it was a pistol that they've got strapped to their side and is completely unregulated.
Do they have a license for it?
Probably not. No.
Oh, fuck, that really gets my giblets.
But
I don't know what that means.
But that does draw to a close this episode. Before we go, I want to make sure that we thank our Patreon patrons because they keep the show going, and we appreciate. That's going to be something that is up and coming political scandal where somebody is just so appreciative of the things that are going on that they do something bad. I'm tired.
Yeah, Biden said thank you too many times. This is going to be appreciate.
He said folks too many times. Now listen, here's the deal.
Folks.
But I do want to thank two skeptical chaps.
A noble spirit embiggens the smallest man. A perfectly cromulent statement.
Alan Firth.
All hail Peanut Buttra.
Doug Willoughby.
Hunter Grin.
Is it just me, or are these patrons updogs?
Yeah. John McCullough.
Ollie Olson.
Sinead Duffy.
Steve Kuno.
Stephen Andrews.
Theodore Sellen.
Tiffany Hudson.
Vanessa.
Clank Trucking. That one, I don't know why I couldn't say Clank. Jeez. That was hard to squeeze out there. I apologize, Clank Trucking.
Corey Ebert.
Don't be a Richard.
Freethinker 215.
Good news, everyone.
Jeremy Goodson.
Jonathan.
Mackenzie Peterson.
Marvin Dracone.
Megan Mitchell.
Not a fucking gymnast.
The next Patreon is an updog.
Utah Outcasts.
Wesley Aaron.
Zeus 9SO.
Janet Uter.
Purple Dragon.
Sarah Segovia.
David Acuna.
Socialized Healthcare saved my life.
Tim Gibson.
James.
Rick and Morty want you to please support the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Wubba-lubba-dub-dub.
Yay. Thank you all very, very much for your patronage. We appreciate it a ton. If you, dear listener, would like to become a Patreon patron, you can do so very easily by going to patreon.com/GodlessRebelution, where you can contribute as little as $1 per episode. And then you get extended episodes, early releases of every episode, bonus episodes every now and then, clips from the cutting room floor, a song at the end of the episode, and the knowledge that you're helping to keep this going. So thank you very, very much. We are going to be exploring some other options for our audio because I know that we have had some difficulties here recently with internet connections and stuff like that. So we are looking at other options that will make the sound clearer and better for everybody. I'm hoping to have that in place by the time we record next week, but who knows? I mean, the world could fucking end between now and then. It's not terrific right now.
Fuck, I hope the rapture comes. Get these assholes out of here.
Well, thank you very much, Ryan. I appreciate it. And
thank you.
We'll chat with you next week. I got stuff to do. I'm going to go do that stuff. Damn it.
Okay. I'm probably going to go polish my wood a little more.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.